Dr. Philastus Hurlbut.
Who?
I said I'm Dr. Philastus Hurlbut, and I've come to meet the prophet Joseph Smith.
I'm his brother, Hiram. I won't leave you standing on the porch in the snow, Dr. Hurlbut. Come in, come in. Emma?
Would that be the prophet's wife?
Yes, Hiram.
Is Joseph receiving guests? We have an educated man here to see him.
He's finishing his breakfast, but perhaps he'll receive you soon. Will you sit?
Yes, that's the prophet's wife. Where did you earn your degree, Dr. Hurlbut?
Oh, in many a school, many a clime, my dear friend.
Come in. Still eating, but I've never minded eating with a friend.
Sorry to bother you, but I've heard of the Mormon prophet, and I had to come and satisfy my curiosity as to what kind of man you are, if you're a man at all.
Well, if he wasn't a man, he wouldn't spill cream on his chin. Here's a towel, dear.
You got it?
Yes, dear.
Dr. Philastus Hurlbut. Well, well, that's an amusing thing your parents did with your first name.
What?
Why in the world did they name you Doctor?
Well, yes, that's it. You've guessed it. Didn't go to that much school at all. Yes, I was their seventh son, and my parents figured that meant I'd have special gifts. So they named me Doctor. Astute of you to know that.
And you've come here to investigate the Mormons. What church do you belong to now?
None. I was a Methodist, of course, but I grew dissatisfied with their doctrine.
Which doctrine, Brother Hurlbut?
Oh, various and sundry doctrines. Many and many doctrines darken the inner reaches of my soul.
Particularly the rules about a Christian man's conduct with the fairer sex.
Why, sir, what do you mean?
You can lie to men, Brother Hurlbut, but your soul is open to heaven. The Methodists refused to have you, didn't they?
I didn't come to be insulted.
But did you come to be forgiven?
I scarcely know what I came for, Mr. Smith.
If you want forgiveness, then you've come to the right place. For only in this church is the power of God to forgiveness yet upon the earth. If you've learned to hate your sin and love the Lord, Christ will forgive you and receive you in the waters of baptism.
I don't know what to say. Surely that's the kindest offer I've ever... Mr. Smith, it's plain you can see into my soul as no mortal man could, and yet you seem to...
Why, yes, Brother Hurlbut. I know you, and I love you. So does the Savior. Pass the butter, Hiram.
I will be baptized. I do hate my sins, Brother Joseph.
Then as soon as we can break the ice in the pond, we'll freeze those sins right out of you.
Freeze?
Just my manner of speaking. The water's mighty cold this time of year, but perhaps it takes cold water to freeze the hell out of a man.
You shouldn't talk like that, Joseph. You light-minded us.
The pure pleasure of good conversation. You make wonderful bread, Emma, dear.
If we had known what damage Philastus Hurlbut would eventually do to the church, we would never have let him into the city, let alone into the church. But evil wears a fair cover, and Joseph is inclined to forgive any man who pretends to be repentant. And perhaps Hurlbut was sincere at first. At least he accepted a mission.
What? Well, as soon as a man hears the gospel, he must spread the good news to others. It's the duty of every saint. The Lord has told the prophet that you are to go on a mission to the eastern states.
But, then I'll go, won't I?
Yes, of course you will.
And so Dr. Philastus Hurlbut, like many another new convert, went straight into the mission field. We forgot about him and everything else, too. because on June 1st, 1833, Joseph was given a revelation commanding the saints to build a temple to the Lord, the first temple to be built in these latter days.
It was in December of last year that the Lord spoke to us and said, "Organize yourselves, prepare every needful thing, and establish a house, even a house of prayer, a house of fasting, a house of faith, a house of learning, a house of glory, a house of order, a house of God, that your incomings may be in the name of the Lord, that your outgoings may be in the name of the Lord, that all your salutations may be in the name of the Lord, with uplifted hands unto the Most High. Verily I say unto you, it is my will that you should build a house. If you keep my commandments, you shall have power to build it."
There were many among us who thought it was crazy to try and build a temple now. The church was poor, and most of the converts who flocked to Kirtland were either poor or unwilling to enter the law of consecration. Many were saving money to be able to go to Zion, and now this. But Jared Carter, Reynolds Cahoon, and I were called to obtain subscriptions to raise enough money to build the temple. And on June 5th, Joseph Smith, my brother, gave young George Albert, our cousin, the honor of hauling the first load of stone for the foundation of the temple.
Hey, give us a hand, man. These horses can't do it alone.
Come on! Let's lend a shoulder!
If the Lord had wanted my opinion, I'd tell him not to build a temple on a hill where you have to haul the stone up slope.
Well, Brother John Stone, the Lord didn't ask you.
Well, it ain't because I never offered my opinion, though.
Here we are, man. Level ground.
Hosanna for that.
Well, we've only got to do that another 300 times and we'll have enough stone.
All right, men. That's the line. Now dig wide inside, but keep the outside straight and smooth.
Right.
Hiram! I thought you were supposed to be fundraising.
Well, Joseph, I find that the rich never have any money to spare the poor fellows. And while the poor contribute all they can, muscles and sweat, it doesn't add up fast. But hours and minutes they have plenty of. And so I figure if they'll dig the ditches for the foundation stones for free, why, that's money in the bank, isn't it?
It is. And the Lord accepts a man's sweat as readily as a man's money.
Amen, Joseph. Hey there! Now throw the dirt outside.
What?
Throw it inside and we'll just have to move it again. Unless you fancy having a mound of dirt in the middle of a temple.
Not a bad idea.
And then we got the word about Philastus Hurlbutt.
No doubt about it. He used obscene language with the young woman while acting as a minister of the gospel. And if she hadn't been a lady, he might well have intended much more serious sin.
Well, nothing for it then but to excommunicate him.
Excommunicate? They had no right to excommunicate me.
Why, Brother Philastus, they had the right. The Lord gave them the right.
But I'm innocent. I never had a chance to answer the charges against me.
As to your innocence, you were plainly heard by several people, and the young lady in question complained.
I confess to an indiscretion of the tongue, but I swear I had no immoral intention. It was like a joke, a stupid joke.
It wasn't funny.
I know that now. I know it. But Brother Joseph, I swear I'll never do it again. Forgive me, please, and let me stay in the church.
Well, Brother Philastus, your heart seems pure enough now. I'll ask the council to restore your blessings.
Well, Philly, how did it go?
Well, Jim, I just put a few little tears in my eyes, and Joseph Smith melted down. I fooled Joseph Smith and Joseph Smith's God. Not too wise a God, not too all-knowing, not to realize that I was lying in my teeth.
Let's see. 49 cents for the 20 pounds of flour and 7 cents for the bacon. That's 56 cents.
But, Brother Joseph, my husband's been sick, and we haven't more than 30 cents now to live on. Can I have credit for the rest?
I didn't know he was sick.
Like a dog. And this after he put 3 days free work in on the temple.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you credit for 50 cents, and you give me 6 pennies. And then when your husband works again, you can come back and pay me.
God bless you, Brother Joseph. We'll pay it back. You can be sure.
Excuse me, sister.
Oh, yes. Brother Hiram, good morning.
Giving credit again?
Her husband's sick, Hiram.
From the number of people whose husbands are sick these days, you'd think we had an epidemic of smallpox or something.
Well, that's an uncharitable speculation.
Really, Joseph? Then here's another. Philastus Hurlbutt was overheard by 2 brethren of the elders bragging to a friend about how he deceived Joseph Smith's God.
Oh, really?
And he's making a mock of the gospel and of you, all through the town.
Why are you telling me this?
I thought you'd be concerned.
It's a matter for the bishop in the bishop's court.
I thought you might want to give them instructions.
Well, Hiram, when I have to give instructions to the brethren in a case like this, then it's a sorry crop of brethren, don't you think?
Guess so, Joseph.
How's the temple coming?
Slow, Joseph. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the saints just don't have that kind of money.
The Lord will provide.
Speaking of the Lord providing, Brother Joseph, my wife's real sick. And I've had to take care of the little ones, and I wondered if you happen to be able to lend me a rasher of bacon and a bit of cornmeal.
Oh, and how much do you need?
And we all knew it would only be a matter of time before the store went out of business. After all, it's hard to be a storekeeper and a prophet. If you work to make a profit, people begin to doubt that you're really a man of God.
That cheap little storekeeper in Kirtland thinks he can excommunicate me? For immorality, too.
Well, Philly, the Methodists did it too.
Some friend you are. But I'll get him back. I'll expose him as a fraud that he is.
I ain't deaf, Philly. No need to shout.
I'll shout it from the housetops if need be.
Good morning, sir. I ain't buying if you're selling.
Not selling, madam, but soliciting your help in a campaign to expose the worst fraud ever to blacken the name of Manchester Township, New York.
What?
Joe Smith, madam. He's making Manchester and Palmyra look like a breeding ground for false prophets.
Oh, yes, the Smith boys. I used to know Alvin before he died.
Madam, I have here an affidavit of the kind of things the Smiths were known to do. Will you sign it?
What's it say? My eyes are going bad.
It says that the Smith family were known to be money diggers, constantly working to find gold in the ground.
I don't know about that.
Well, your neighbor, Mr. Stafford, says that it's so.
Well, if Mr. Stafford says so, it must be so. Here's my name.
Well, Joe Smith, he told me once about how them gold plates wasn't real at all. In fact, he just had some sand tied up in his smock. Well, the neighbor's heavy. He told us folks all about how they was gold plates, but he never had 'em, and that's a fact.
Will you sign to that, Mr. Ingersoll?
Sure will. Them Smiths has been getting so uppity, moving to Ohio and talking as how God only speaks to them. Crazy folks, all of them.
Mr. Hurlbutt, I think you're doing a good work gathering these affidavits. Why, I well know that these Smiths are frauds, Joseph Smith, Jr. merely pretended to find the gold plates in a scheme to relieve his family's financial situation. He hoped to raise enough money to pay off their debts.
Did he?
Did he what?
Pay off his family's debts.
Well, if he did, I never heard of it. I imagine the Smiths will always be in debt. But Joseph Sr., the boy's father, he once told me that the book was a speculation which, if it succeeded, would place his family above the generality of mankind. Proud people, with scarcely anything to be proud of.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Pholastus Hurlbut, and I was once a follower of the greatest fraud and charlatan the world has ever known, the so-called prophet Joseph Smith, Jr. You've heard of him, haven't you?
I know that.
Well, I have here the signed statements of the neighbors of the Smiths family where they used to live in New York. People have often wondered why it was that the Mormonites didn't have any success in New York and had to come to Ohio to find their church. Well, the reason's simple. People in New York knew Joe Smith too well to believe that he was anything but a liar and a thief. I've got signed statements here that prove that Joe Smith was always lying about finding things in the ground. He pretended to have magical powers and to see things through magic stones. And all the time, his family was the worst gang of beggars and cheats who never paid their debts as you ever did see. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the truth about Joe Smith and his so-called religion.
And suddenly that slander and those signed affidavits from everybody in Palmyra who had ever disliked our family, or everybody who wanted a little fame for telling bad stories about us, well, it was doing damage. Hurlbut's lectures were well attended in our part of Ohio, and even some of the saints were beginning to think they were true. Joseph fought those charges the best he could. But how can you fight an out-and-out lie?
Everybody thinks where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, that's true. There's fire of some kind. But in this case, the fire that's raising all the smoke is the fire of hell and the burning of damned souls. Dr. Pholastus Hurlbut has made a great deal of this statement from Bill Harmon of Palmyra. Let me read it to you. Bill says, "Once when the Smith boys were digging a well for me, seeing as how they needed money fast, all of a sudden Joe Smith comes up with a round stone and says he can see things in it. And ever after that he claimed that the stone gave him special powers, even though it was just an ordinary stone out of the ground in my yard." Well, it's true that Hiram and I once dug a well for Mr. Harmon. And it's true that I found many stones there, none of which, however, had any power at all, magical or otherwise. What Mr. Harmon isn't telling folks is that he owed us $3 for our work and wouldn't pay. And not only that, he borrowed a spade from my father and wouldn't give it back. And so finally Hiram and I went to his house and told him that if he didn't want to swim in the duck pond in his Sunday...
And brothers and sisters, we all know why Pholastus Hurlbut is going out telling lies about our prophet Joseph Smith, Jr. It's because he was excommunicated from the Mormon Church. Why was he excommunicated? Because of gross immorality. Now, Pholastus Hurlbut has added to the sins of immorality the new sin of lying against God. And he will pay for his crimes in hell.
Amen. Amen, brother. Amen. Pholastus, have you seen this newspaper?
What's it say? Immorality? Look at that. Sidney Rigdon is saying I'm an adulterer. I never committed adultery in my life.
Well, Philly, it wasn't for lack of trying.
I swear before God that I'll kill Joseph Smith for this. He can't slander my name and live.
And you mean that, Philly?
Joseph Smith's going to die, and if it isn't by my hand, I don't know what.
Hurlbut's threat on Joseph's life was big news in our part of the country, and Joseph and the rest of us remembered that night of tar and feathers not all that long ago.
Your Honor, I wish to swear a complaint against Dr. Philastus Hurlbut for threatening to take my life.
I'll hear the evidence.
And on April 12th, 1834, the judge convicted Philastus Hurlbut and held him on a $200 bond to keep the peace for 6 months. His conviction at first seemed to do much to undo the damage he had done. But then Hurlbut managed to sell his affidavits to the editor of the Painesville Telegraph, a local paper that didn't have much use for us. His name was Eber D. Howe, and he paid Hurlbut $500 for the affidavits.
Mr. Howe, I believe you're doing a sacred and holy work, and I'm grateful you saw fit to give me this money for the affidavits. Though if the truth be known, I'd gladly have given them to you for free, since the work you're doing to destroy these Mormonites is a holy crusade.
Really, Mr. Hurlbut? But I suppose you aren't offering to give the money back.
Oh, I need it to live on, Mr. Howe, I'll admit that.
Good to see you admit the truth when brought down to it. Well, Mr. Hurlbut, I hope you'll use some of that money to buy a copy of my book. I'm calling it Mormonism Unveiled.
An excellent title.
I'm glad you approve. I only wish you could have found somebody in Palmyra who could prove that Solomon Spaulding had visited the Smith family before his death.
Nobody saw him. I asked everybody, I assure you.
Oh, well, I believe we've found the truth, though. Spaulding's novel is obviously the source of the Book of Mormon. Didn't he have Romans coming to America on ships? Didn't he have wars, just like the Book of Mormon? Romans, Mormons. You can see how they just twisted it around and added a little religion, and presto, the Book of Mormon. Sidney Rigdon is the key. Sidney Rigdon could have stolen the manuscript and given it to Joseph Smith.
That's it. No wonder Rigdon's so anxious to discredit me.
Well, as to that, Mr. Hurlbut, discrediting you isn't exactly a difficult task.
Why, Mr. Howe, that's downright insulting.
If my book is to have any credibility, Mr. Hurlbut, I'll thank you to keep your distance from it in the future.
Your book could be nothing without my affidavits.
But, Mr. Hurlbut, I have your affidavits. And you have $500. Good day.
Good day.
And so the book Mormonism Unveiled was published. It was the first that any of us had heard of Solomon Spaulding, and the idea that Joseph knew Sidney Rigdon before they met in 1830, months after the Book of Mormon was published, it was preposterous. But the only people who would testify that Howe's theory was all wrong were members of the church. And Howe just said,
well, of course he would say that. He's one of the Mormonite leaders now, isn't he? He's part of the conspiracy.
Howe's book, in the long run, did far less damage to the church than the words printed by one of the most loyal saints, W. Phelps, editor of the Evening and the Morning Star in Jackson County, Missouri.
Well, Brother William, what's to be the news today?
News? By the time I get through setting type for the paper, the news is 3 days old, Bishop Partridge.
Well, there's been some disturbance lately, William, and I wish you could use the Star to put some misconceptions to rest.
What kind of disturbance?
Reverend Pixley from the Missionary Society has been telling the people, the non-Mormons around here, that we're trying to incite the Indians to rebellion.
That's patent nonsense. We're trying to save their souls.
And then there's the matter of slaves.
We don't have any.
I know. That's the problem. None of us Mormons has slaves, Brother Phelps, but all our neighbors do. Missouri's a slave state.
I know that, and I think slavery's an abominable practice. And I long for the day when it disappears from the earth.
I know you feel that way, and so do a lot of people. Our neighbors are afraid we're out to free their slaves.
And what if we are?
Why, then I believe they'd try to kill us all.
What? You can't be serious.
I've never been more serious in my life.
But kill us? Over slaves?
The prophet himself prophesied that there'd be a war poured out upon all nations, beginning with the rebellion of South Carolina.
But South Carolina's been fussing over states' rights.
The issues don't matter. The real thing that causes Southerners to hate Northerners is slavery. And we're Northerners. And we're living among Southerners.
But to talk of killings, that's nonsense.
I just advise you, William, to make sure that your paper makes it clear that the Mormons don't want to interfere with slavery.
But I do.
While you speak in the paper, you speak for the church. And we're far too weak to have a fight with the whole state of Missouri over slavery. Is that clear?
Clear? Yes, indeed.
And so the Evening and the Morning Star didn't print anything against slavery. For a while, anyway. But for the first time, the Saints in Missouri came up against another completely different kind of problem. Power.
Bishop Partridge, do you realize that there are 1,000 saints here in Jackson County?
I do, Brother Knight.
And then hundreds more in the other counties?
Well, that's plain.
Well, what if we ran our own candidates for political office? Oh, with all our votes, plus even a quarter of the Gentiles' votes, they'd win.
And?
And we'd have a county government favorable to the immigration of more saints. Open up some restricted property. We can have political power, Bishop Partridge.
Not on your life, Brother Knight.
Why not?
If the Gentiles once thought that we were trying to take over the local government, they'd run us out of the state.
Oh, but it'd all be democratic. How can they complain?
They were here first. They won't like it if a bunch of Yankees from New England by way of Ohio was to come in and tell them how to run their county.
Oh, do you really think they'd mind?
I suspect they might.
Well, there's no law saying that Mormons can't all vote together to keep friendly office holders in power, whether they're Mormons or not.
Well, that's true. But we do it at our own peril, I think.
And if we don't do it, then we're risking quite a bit too, I think.
These same thoughts about the political power of the church in Jackson County began to occur to the Gentiles, too, and the reaction was worse than Bishop Partridge or any other person had supposed.
The Mormons are the common enemies of mankind and ought to be destroyed. Will we allow these religious fanatics to destroy our beautiful state? Never! Then light your torches, my brothers and sisters, and show them what the flames of hell are all about. Follow me, brother.
Mommy, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? The mob. They're gonna get us. Nonsense. Now you just go to sleep.
He asleep.
He's afraid of the mob.
Well, aren't we all? Everybody was talking about gathering at Bishop Partridge cabin tonight for safety. But I figure that'll get pretty crowded pretty quick.
They rode right into the Colesville Saints village the other day, shooting their guns and scaring the cattle.
Well, let's just hope they never learn how to aim those guns at people.
They never will. God would never let them.
And help us to be filled with charity, even toward those who use us despitefully. We wish nothing ill toward any man and only want to live at peace with our neighbors. Father, open their eyes and soften their hearts toward thy servants in the land of Zion. And let us be free of fear, even as we try to be free of sin.
Why did you stop, Brother Knight?
Here they come.
Well, then I think that would be all the more reason to pray.
Help us, Father, to be courageous in the face of the terror of our enemies, and help us not to lose that which is of most value to us, In the name of the Savior, amen.
Amen. Why did you stop?
Someone else. I've prayed for half an hour already.
That which is of most value to us. What's that?
That's our lives. Our families.
Everything we've worked to build.
That which is of most value to us. They can never take away unless we let them.
And what's that?
Our faith, brethren. So hold fast and let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We know that thou rulest both on heaven and on earth. Rule then in our behalf, and protect us from our enemies.
Come on out here, you Mormon! Come on!
Where are you in there, you damn Mormonites?
Burn down that house!
Get out of Missouri, you thieving Mormons!
Out of the rest of the state, you are! Hey, there's a haystack!
A haystack! A haystack!
Show 'em what the fire's for!
Burn down the haystack!
Look at that thing go! Look at that haystack's fine! That'll show 'em!
Let's get out
They're gone.
For tonight.
What can we do?
We'll appeal to the governor, I think.
Well...
And we've got to get Brother Joseph out here. He'll know what we should do.
What do we do in the meantime? That was your winter's supply of hay.
I know.
The governor will put a stop to this. He's got to.
Perhaps. But then again, he might count votes. Are 1,000 votes from the Mormons worth 10,000 votes from the non-Mormons?
Bishop, the man has a conscience.
So does the devil, Brother Newell. But it doesn't stop him from doing wrong.
Morning, Brother Whitmer.
Morning, Brother Ebenezer.
Fine day.
Every day's a fine day in Zion, Brother Ebenezer.
Hey, boy. What you doing wandering around like this?
Just going to work, sir.
Who you belong to, boy?
Me? I don't belong to nobody except me.
A free nigger, huh? Got papers?
Everybody knows me, sir.
I don't know you, boy.
What's going on?
I'm Sheriff Bill Whiffle, and I found this slave running loose without papers.
He's not a slave.
Can you prove it?
I can get 300 people who all know he was a free Negro in Ohio before he joined the Church of Latter-day Saints.
A Mormonite, huh? A nigger Mormon. Now, ain't that fitting? Listen, boy. I'm going to warn you once, and next time I'll just arrest you. And if you're unclaimed in 15 days, I'll sell you off south, understand? No free niggers can come into the state of Missouri without they got papers from the state government of the former state saying they're free. Clear?
Clear.
You got papers like that?
No, sir.
Then between right now and tomorrow, when I come looking for you, you better get yourself out of the state of Missouri. And I suggest you go north, too, boy, because the laws in Arkansas are even tougher than the laws here.
But I come to Zion, like all the other saints.
Yeah, we'll see about that, too, boy. But I don't care. If God himself sent you to Missouri, if you ain't got papers, I'm going to sell you south. And as to the nigger-lover Mormons, it wouldn't break my heart to get them out of the state, too.
You've said quite enough, Sheriff. You better come with me, Ebenezer.
Woo-wee! Look at them walking along as sweet as you please.
Brother John, I don't want to leave Zion.
Well, we'll have to see, Ebenezer, but if the law says they can sell you, you bet they'll try. Brother Phelps.
Yes, Brother Whitmer?
This paper gets read by all the saints in Kirtland, doesn't it?
As far as I know, everybody that can read reads it, John.
Then you've got to print a warning. I just got a copy of the Missouri state law saying that free Negroes can't enter the state of Missouri without papers from their state government, or they get seized and sold.
Sold? They wouldn't dare.
They would dare. And poor Ebenezer Bailey's already halfway out of Missouri right now in order to escape the law. Now, we've got to warn people in Ohio and other states that any free Negroes who come to Zion have got to have those papers.
I'll put it in the next edition.
Your Honor.
Mr. Owens, I'm busy.
Judge Lucas, I know that, and I wouldn't interrupt if it wasn't important.
Come in, then.
It's about the Mormons, Judge.
What about the Mormons, Mr. Owens?
Have you read the latest paper, the Evening and the Morning Star?
I tried to avoid reading it whenever possible.
Well, take a look at this one and see what Phelps has written about niggers coming to Missouri.
Free Negroes, state of Missouri. Well, this is nothing but a whole text of the Missouri state law on importation of free Negroes.
Yeah, but read what they say about it.
My heavens. This is an outline of exactly how a Negro should go about immigration.
That's just what I thought. Them Mormons is planning to bring a lot of niggers into the state.
Well, that's intolerable. If a whole bunch of free Negroes started wandering around, how long do you think our slaves would stay peaceable? We'd have a wholesale rebellion on our hands. Just trust those Northerners to pull something like this.
Well, you know what those Mormons keep saying. This is the land of their inheritance.
Sound as though they think the rest of us are in the way.
I figure it's just part of their plan to kick us all out of the county.
Well, Mr. Owens, it won't work.
Brother William Wine Phelps.
Bishop Partridge, good to see you.
Do you have any idea what you've done?
Put out a paper, I think.
You've caused every Mormon eater in Jackson County to be up in arms about us. That's what you've done. Listen to this. As to slaves, we have nothing to say. In connection with the wonderful events of this age, much is doing towards abolishing slavery and colonizing the blacks in Africa.
I wrote that.
I know you wrote it, Brother Phelps. I only wish to heaven we could unwrite it.
Why? I just put that in there so the Missourians would know we're not trying to settle a lot of Negroes in the state. We want them in Africa, don't we?
Well, I don't know where we want them, but I'll tell you where our Missouri neighbors want them. They want them picking cotton on fields in Missouri. That's where they want them. And then you have to have the official church newspaper saying that abolishing slavery is wonderful.
I didn't exactly say that.
That's how they're reading it. And right now there's a petition circulating among the old settlers, a manifesto, if you will, that declares that we are deluded fanatics, guilty of blasphemy, and it says that we say that God gave us all this land for an inheritance.
Well, God did give us this land.
On the contrary, Brother William, God told us we should buy this land.
Well, of course.
The old settlers don't exactly understand that.
Yeah, I guess you'd better clarify the situation.
Clarify? We'd better do anything we can to let these people know we don't plan to drive them out of the county. Or so help me, they'll drive us out. That manifesto says, we believe it a duty we owe ourselves, our wives, and children to the cause of public morals to remove the Mormons from among us. They're very kindly offering to pay us for any property we can't take with us. But you can bet we'll get less per acre than we paid for it.
They can't drive us out. We're American citizens.
So true, so true. They also outnumber us and can call on Mormon eaters from all over the area to come and get us. The mobs are already coming in practically every week as it is, smashing windows, scaring the daylights out of our children.
I'll put out an extra edition right away.
Do that. I hope it isn't too late.
But the extra was too late. The old settlers in Jackson County had already scheduled a meeting for July 20th, 1833 to decide what to do about the Mormons. It began in an orderly enough fashion, but it soon turned into a mob.
And so we've made some mighty fine resolutions here declaring that no more Mormons is to come into Jackson County.
Hear, hear.
And that those that's here's gotta leave.
Yeah, get 'em out of here.
But that ain't enough. I say, that ain't enough. In 6 more weeks, there'll be more and more of them nigger lovers here. And then there'll be more than us. And they'll be telling us when to leave. Let's go show them we mean business. Yeah. Let's get that scamp Phelps who send out newspapers telling niggers to come to Missouri. Let's get that skunk Partridge who runs the whole Mormon church around here. Let's get him.
Somebody get some tar and feathers.
Pretty near through now, aren't you, Brother Phelps?
Near enough, Charlie, near enough. The Book of Commandments will be ready to be sold in about a month now.
Well, the printing's nearly done.
Well, it's got to be bound and glued, and then we've got to put the covers on, and I haven't even started printing those. A lot to do yet, Charlie.
Uh-oh. Hear that? It sounds like a mob.
Probably that meeting the old settlers were having breaking up. I figure they must all know the truth now after reading my extra.
Oh, look at them. They're coming up the street here. They got torches and...
Sound like... My heavens, Charlie, there must be 300 of them.
Let us have those presents. Come on down and we'll burn you.
They broke through the door. What'll we do?
Don't resist. I'll try to talk to them, but don't do anything to get them madder.
Get in there. There he is. Right, everything out. Get it out of here. Come on now.
That's my furniture. What are you doing?
What are we doing? We're going to take it out of here.
You're leaving the state of Missouri,
That's
Phelps.
right.
But I live here.
Mr. Phelps, either you leave here or you die here.
Get everything out of here.
Get him out of here.
Come on now, get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get everything out of here. Come on now, get him out.
Mr. Phelps, what are they doing?
I think they've decided I'm moving out.
Look up there at the window.
They're throwing out the press. My heavens, that thing cost near $1,000.
Look out below.
Well, so much for the Evening and the Morning Star.
Can it be fixed?
Not a chance. Oh, no, look!
The Book of Commandments. They're burning the printed sheets.
And the ink's not even dry. And they're melting down the type.
Can't we do anything?
Not a thing. Except warn Bishop Partridge. They know me too well, but maybe you can get away.
I'll bet I can.
Look, stop that boy. He's a Mormon. Stop, boy.
Get that kid. Get him.
Strip him. Come on, where's the tar? We'll teach you, boy.
Please, don't do it. What are you doing? Please.
Are you a Mormon? Come on, boy, we'll give you a choice. You either leave the county right now, running as fast as you can, or else we'll let you live here. If you'll admit that the Book of Mormon's a fraud and Joseph Smith's a liar. Come on, boy. Which is it?
I know you, Mr. Hicks. You're the assistant county clerk. You know as well as I do. I've got the right to live here in Jackson County.
I gave you a choice, boy.
Well, I'm not leaving this county. The Book of Mormon is the Word of God. Joseph Smith's a prophet.
Well then, boy, have some free tar. A new suit of clothes for you. Stings, don't it? That's because we mixed a little acid with it. So you'd remember this for a little while, eh?
Hold it tight.
I am, but it's so heavy, Emily.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, you splashed it all over me.
Sorry, but let's get the water home. Careful.
But look, Emily, there are men going up to the house.
The mob.
No.
They've got Daddy. Oh, hurry.
Stop. Stop and wait for me.
Come on. Get him out here.
Let's kill this nigger Mormon. Yeah,
Come on, Bishop Partridge. Call on Jesus. Call on the prophet Joseph Smith to help you.
He's in Ohio. I can't call on him.
Quiet. Let's let old Partridge have his say.
I said that Joseph Smith is in Ohio, so he can't come. But God is in heaven and sees what you men are doing.
Oh, yeah, he's right. I say shoot him dead right now.
Yeah.
They're going to kill him. Can we do? I don't know. Mommy's so weak after having the baby. Maybe we can get inside without anyone seeing us, and Mommy can tell us what to do.
Judge Lucas. I see you there, Judge Lucas. You're supposed to represent law in Jackson County.
The law doesn't have a long enough reach for some crimes, Partridge.
Oh, strip him. Get that tar.
Please don't strip me naked here in the street. I don't deserve such shame in front of my family and neighbors.
Let him have his drawers.
Slap on the tar, man.
Yeah, get it on there.
Well, Partridge, what do you have to say for yourself?
That I've never felt so evil as you must feel right now, Mr. Hicks.
Listen good, Partridge, because we're doing this today as a warning. We want all you Mormons out of Jackson County, and we mean it. Out! All the way out! We won't wait for excuses or dilly-dallying. And any Mormon who tries to come into Jackson County will shoot dead without asking any more questions. Got it?
I understand, Mr. Hicks. Indeed, I would have understood without the tar.
He's covered, except his face.
Well, get the feathers.
Well, hurry it up. I don't think I want to do any more of this.
What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
I'm getting out of here. This is a good man. He don't deserve this.
Good man? Get out of here, then, you lily-livered, nigger-loving,
Come
Mormon-loving.
It's done. Let's go.
I want to wait till the tar sets up.
You put acid in this tar, haven't you? It's burning my skin.
Good.
If you don't want to have me die and have my murder on your hands, then you'll let me go back to my family.
I'll go back there. Get out of here. Let's us get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Come on, let's get out of here.
Here, Bishop, I saw what they done. Let me help you home.
Thanks, Brother Jarvis.
Mommy, look! Oh, no, there's Brother Jarvis and a horrible Indian.
An Indian? Oh, no. Oh, no, child, that's no Indian. That's your father, cruelly done to by the mob. I can't help him. I'm too weak.
Sister Partridge, I saw the commotion, and I wondered if I could help.
My husband, they've tarred him up.
Unlock the door, please.
I
will.
Come on, careful now.
Oh, we must get the tar off him.
I just saw what was happening. Can I give a hand?
Gotta get the tar off him. Here, get him by the fire so the tar stays soft. And Ebony, you go over to my place and tell my husband to get some rope. And every blanket he can lay his hands on. Get his lazy body over here.
I'll hurry.
There's acid in the tar.
Those scum. Brother Jarvis, you get some spoons out in the kitchen. And a bowl scraper and a pan. Let's get this tar off.
Can I help?
You just had a baby. You go back to bed. We got things under control. When we get the tar off, Bishop, then he'll be ready for consolation.
Here's the spoon.
Grit your teeth, Bishop Partridge. Because if you thought the tar stung going on, you just wait to see how it feels coming off. I said grit your teeth.
I did. I just didn't grit them tight enough.
Here's the blankets, dear.
Well, don't just stand there like an idiot. Hang them up. Don't want everybody seeing the bishop in his birthday suit, do we?
Please forgive me, Sister Andrews. But I don't hope to have you see me naked either.
Me? Why, I'm not even a woman, and I'm 56. I've seen and doctored more men than an army surgeon, Bishop. So you just shut your eyes and pretend I'm a man. And grit them teeth.
Bishop, some of us think it's about time we loaded up our guns.
Not on your life. Never, so long as I have anything to say about it.
Now he gets angry.
We won't be driven off our land.
Land? What's land? Dirt, and plenty of it to be found in other places. I'm proud of being persecuted for the truth.
There, Partridge. It's all right. It's all right.
The mob came back, though only a few days later, this time armed with rifles and muskets. They threatened to whip the church leaders in Missouri to death and turn the slaves loose to burn out the Mormons and tear down the houses. 6 of the brethren, William Phelps, Edward Partridge, Isaac Morley, Sidney Gilbert, John Whitmer, and John Corrill, offered to go as hostages.
Well, we'll be a ransom. To the death, sir, if that's the way you want it. As long as you let the rest of the saints continue to live here in peace.
To the death, John Whitmer. What an offer. It's hard to resist. Well, as to that, we're all Americans, and we believe that every man should die for himself.
Right.
No hostage, no ransom, just out of Jackson County. every last Mormon out.
Finally, it was agreed. The church leaders in Jackson County and half the saints would leave the county by the 1st of January, and the rest of the saints by the 1st of April. They even signed it as a contract, though heaven knows the mob had no authority to sign any contract.
But we signed it, and we'll do it.
Oh, but Bishop Partridge, there's no reason that we shouldn't still appeal to the governor.
As for that, Oliver, I have the governor's answer. Read it.
Sue? He wants us to sue in the local courts. Oh.
Well, there you have it. What chance do we have when the county judge is one of the mob?
Well, by heaven, Bishop Partridge, I say we do have a chance. Let's get them in a courtroom where the guns are gone and the gavel is supposed to maintain legality. Let's make them show us what fools and devils they are while a court recorder writes down every foolish word they say.
I'd rather know what Joseph has to say.
Well, then I'll go ask him.
And I'll proceed with the evacuation while you're gone.
Fair enough. And so I rode hard for days on end until I got to Kirtland and told the prophet Joseph all that had transpired in Zion.
Oliver, tell me truthfully, has there been any loss of life?
None yet, though I can't swear it won't happen.
Oliver, what kind of leader am I? To be waiting here at Kirtland while others suffer the cruelest blows of Satan's army.
Joseph, you're doing the Lord's work. We know that.
Oh, my God. What shall I do in such a trial as this?
The saints in Zion want to know what they should do.
Do? Not a week ago, the Lord told me these words. Zion shall escape if she observe to do all things whatsoever I have commanded her. But if she observe not to do whatsoever I have commanded her, I will visit her according to all her works, with sore affliction, with pestilence, with plague, with sword, with vengeance, with devouring fire.
Joseph, I can't say that to the saints there.
Cold enough comfort, isn't it? If only they had truly lived the law of consecration and not got caught up in their selfish arguments.
You can't be saying that the saints deserved what's happening to them.
I'm not. What I'm saying is that they disobeyed, and the Lord's protection was taken away from them. And now Satan is free to do whatever he wants. Let me pray, Oliver. Stay and write down whatever answer the Lord gives.
So I stayed and wrote.
And I will try you and prove you herewith. And whoso layeth down his life in my cause for my name's sake shall find it again, even life eternal. Therefore, be not afraid of your enemies, for I have decreed in my heart, saith the Lord, that I will prove you in all things, whether you will abide in my covenant, even unto death, that you may be found worthy.
Even unto death. That was what he said. But we little knew how soon that would be the very test.
Well, Hicks, the Mormons have filed suit.
What?
And the worst of it is that I have to hear the suit and hear the evidence.
Throw it out of court, Judge Lucas.
I have a letter from the governor. I'm to hear them fairly, he says.
Burn it.
I have to keep my job, Hicks.
Let me see the letter.
There, see? Now, you're Lieutenant Governor Lilburn. See what he says?
What it says to me, gentlemen, is that Governor Dunklin has no understanding of the threat these Mormons pose to the whole of our civilization.
Right. We need you as governor, Mr. Bob.
And given enough time, gentlemen, governor I shall be. But in the meantime, I can see that you have no choice but to hold this trial.
And I can see that this trial will be nothing but a chance for the Mormons to get sympathy from every bleeding heart newspaper in the North. Naturally, all the abolitionists will be in their favor.
Well, Lilburn, what can we do?
We can see to it that when the trial comes up, there ain't any Mormons in Jackson County to present the evidence.
Yeah. Yes, that's the only way. I see it now.
You see it now. Anyone would think you had a vision here.
I have. I see Edward Partridge hanging from a tree, and I see William Phelps drowned to death in a sea of type. I see half the Mormons dead, and the other half painted black and sold as slaves in Arkansas.
Too bad there's not a chance of that. But I do believe it's time to let the Mormons know that we aren't waiting around for their trial.
It was then that the real terror began.
Get out of those cabins right now or we'll burn you out.
You wouldn't turn women and children out of their homes on a night like this, would you?
Damn right.
So the women and children from the Blue River community spent that night in the forest, in the cold of the night of October 31st.
Mother, I'm cold.
Here, snuggle closer, dear.
Why did they make us leave? I want to go to bed.
They don't like us, dear, because we believe in God and Jesus and the prophet Joseph Smith.
Where's Daddy?
I don't know, dear.
While their fathers were stoned, whipped, and beaten.
Come on down.
Oh, God!
I told you the Mormons had as red of blood as anybody else.
And a lot less courage. Just listen to him crying like a baby.
The mob rode every night. Houses were pulled down, people evicted, men beaten. Parley P. Pratt was determined that they shouldn't do any damage to the mill.
This mill isn't doing you any harm. Now get out of the yard.
You get out of the way.
Never.
Careful, George. You might have killed him. So what if I did?
They broke into the store and spread all the goods through the street. When several Mormon men caught one of the mobbers in the act of throwing a brick through a window, the judge not only refused to issue a warrant against the mobber, he arrested the Mormons for false arrest and threw them in jail. At last, it became too much to bear, and David Whitmer took the leadership of a group of men determined not to take any more.
We've never broken the law, Brother Partridge, and look what's happened to us.
We've never broken the law, and we never will. Put away those guns.
Those mobbers are cowards, willing to fight women and children and a handful of unarmed men. Once they see us, they'll watch what they're doing.
David, the prophet said to obey the constitutional law of the land.
The Constitution says we can enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, it doesn't make me happy to see my friends and neighbors thrown out of their homes to freeze to death. We'll never fire a shot, but it's about time these mobbers found out that Mormons have teeth, and we can bite back.
They're not the only ones who do this to him.
I never thought.
Let's get over there now.
I never thought I'd see the day when Mormons turned into a mob.
No, Bishop Partridge. A mob we'll never be. We're just militia, and these men are sworn to obey orders and not to fire except at my command, like soldiers. But we're going, and that's that. Mount up, men!
See you in the morning, Bishop.
Will all of you live through this night?
Here they come. Ho there, you men! Stop in the name of the law.
Law? I'm the law around here. Shoot 'em, boys!
It's Philo Dibble. They got Philo. Shoot! Shoot 'em like dogs.
They got dogs!
Philo Dibble lived, but another saint, Andrew Barber, died of his wounds the next day, the first Latter-day Saint to die for the church. 2 of the mob were left dead in David Whitmer's cornfield, but instead of frightening the mob further, it only angered them, and the marauding increased, while the mob threatened to murder those saints that they held prisoner.
There are 100 of us, Boggs, all armed.
I know that, Mr. White, but I represent the militia, and we're here to do justice. We want to protect you. We want to end the fighting. But we can't do that while you still have guns.
Lyman White and 100 Latter-day Saint men gathered together for defense. But Lilburn Boggs, lieutenant governor of the state of Missouri and one of the large property holders in the Jackson County area, persuaded them to give up their arms.
You have my word, Mr. White. We'll disarm not only you, but also the mobs that have attacked you.
Well, Mr. Boggs, will you disarm the members of the mob who are in the militia?
In the militia? But none of my men has ever been part of a mob.
Then how is it that I know for a fact that Mr. Hicks there was in the mob that wrecked the printing press?
Nonsense. Now, as lieutenant governor, I promise you that you'll be protected.
Well, I'm trusting you, Mr. Boggs. I'm showing you that Mormons will obey the law and keep faith. You show me that Missourians will do the same. All right, men, lay down your weapons and step back 10 paces.
No sooner was the Mormon militia disarmed than the word spread throughout Jackson County that it was safe to go mobbing again. And by Thursday, November 7th, hundreds of saints were fleeing across the Missouri River, taking whatever they could with them, which wasn't much. 2 counties refused to let the Mormons enter, but Clay County took compassion on the saints, and they moved into stables, into fields, into makeshift towns of tents. The nights were freezing cold, and sickness abounded, but the saints never lost faith, and they were quick to see signs of God's protecting hand.
Mother, look.
What is it?
The stars are flying. What does it mean?
My dear, it means that God's in heaven still, whatever Satan may accomplish on the earth.
And in Kirtland, Joseph Smith was wakened by some of the elders, and he went outside and saw the stars. It was the same terrible, frightening, majestic, beautiful sky shining over Kirtland that shone over the saints, freezing in little camps on the banks of the Missouri River.
Oh, how marvelous are thy works, O Lord! I thank thee for thy mercy unto me, thy servant. O Lord, save me in thy kingdom for Christ's sake. Amen.
It was the prayer of all the saints that night.